Okay, this is my video. Hello, it's Melanie. 1 through 24, my walkthrough video for my folder. Here it is. On the front here, I guess I'll talk about this later, but I have like a low to medium teacher control philosophy. So I have words like innate good, self-govern, optimism, desire to belong, that kind of thing, things I believe about the students and things that I would like to do in my class. So we'll jump right in. For teaching philosophy, like I said, I'm low to medium control. So some things I really vibe with other teachers are like Coloroso, how students think and make behavior decisions for themselves, how we should catch students being good and point those things out, and then from Albert, how children are being directed by a desire to belong. My whole philosophy is just that teachers should set up the structure for students to work in. So that's kind of the teacher responsibility. Teach students that they belong and that they can, contribute within that structure, within that classroom culture. And then the students' responsibilities are to regulate their own behavior within that classroom structure based on how they, their actions will affect others and how it'll affect the overall culture. So my statement of personal philosophy is just that teacher and students work together to create a culture of respect and growth through constructive mistakes. So just that idea of growth mindset too, that we're all, building each other up together through the way we contribute to the classroom culture, through the way we learn. Mistakes are okay, and we're all just kind of working hard together. Okay, the next thing is the democratic classroom page. So that's right here, my little foldable. There's some things I wanted to point out from there. Is all the things that we talked about, the class jobs, leadership, student choice, student voice, and civility, that those all are opportunities for students to show that they are capable of responsible decisions, that they know how their decisions will affect the classroom structure, and that they can contribute to the structure meaningfully. So when they, when they understand that, I have a job, I need to help, that they can do that. Okay, going on to motivation theories. Because I am all about kind of the teacher setting up the structure and the students having the freedom to make the decisions within that, it's really important that within the structure that the teacher sets that she, meaning me, that I just teach my students the why behind the things that we're doing, whether that's the rules we're having or kind of just the behavior that we are expected to have in our classroom. And then also the why of what we're learning. So, but going back to the why of the behavior, I hope to teach my students through, through discussion that the way that they act really affects other people. And I can, by the way that we, kind of handle conflict as well. I'll teach them that, like, hey, think about it from someone else's perspective. I hope I'll teach my students the why behind what we learn. So yeah, that, the idea of like, why are we treating each other like this? Why do we need to have these rules? Why do we need to be quiet in the halls? Why do we need to do all these things? That kind of thing, so that they understand intrinsically why we do those things. And then also the why behind of what they're learning. It's really, I think students will be more motivated to learn when they understand how what they're learning will help them in the future. So like I was in one of the classes that I observed, it was a 5th grade class, and they had a discussion about why they need to know their multiplication tables really well. And I thought that was great, just because it taught, the students had some really beneficial ideas about how it will help them to know these really well with their future math, and how, it makes it easier on tests, and how it will make division easier and that kind of thing, which I thought was really cool, that the students could pick out those ideas of why themselves. So when we have those discussions about why we're doing things with our students, it'll help motivate them as they understand why they're doing the things they're doing, and not just jumping through our hoops at school. And then another thing, let's see, this next page is the rules, stuff from the PowerPoint. So rules and procedures over here, and then talk about relationships and prevention over here. The things I wanted to highlight from there were just that my rules need to have a logical rationale. Like I was saying, how my students need to understand why they're doing these things and how they're helping them contribute to the culture. So if the rules don't make any sense, like if I'm just asking them to do random stuff for no reason, it's harder for them to follow that, versus rules that we come up together, or rules that I pitch to the class and say, hey, I think this is something important that, is beneficial to our class. But I think it is important too to give students a role in rule development. And then as I'm teaching these students the why, I hope that they trust me based on how I'm trying to help them. I'm all about I'm here to keep you safe and I'm here to help you mantra as a teacher. So, that's my first priority, and that's why I do all the things that I do for them. I hope they understand that. And then just procedures. are important as well, just so we have that structure, and then the students can choose to act responsibly within that structure because the structure is expected. Okay, sorry, I got interrupted and had to come to my car. The only place I can be alone anymore. Anyway, okay, so I'll jump right back in. I think I was at interventions for misbehavior, so we're supposed to talk about mild, moderate, and a chronic. Here's my interventions page, and my little foldable here, and then cut them all out right here, and wrote kind of how I would do it. Anyway, so the mild one, student is distracted with an object. That one's pretty simple. I would just use situational assistance, just take it away, or maybe give them a warning, like, hey, you need to be focusing, don't play with your pen or something, and then, take it away the next time. For moderate, student is disrupting another student during instruction. Just using the moderate response of, again, a warning, but then, removing the child, just saying, like, hey, with all my interventions, I really like explaining, just because I have this culture of, explaining why to my students, like, why are we doing these things? Hey, I'm helping you, pay attention. I'm trying to keep you safe. I'm trying to help you learn, that kind of thing. So when a student is, when they're distracting each other, I can just say, like, hey, we all want to be learning here, and, this isn't working out with you guys sitting right next to each other when we need to be working on this lesson. So, one of you please come back and sit at this different place. And then, anyway, so that's kind of the moderate response. And then student is non-compliant and anything the teacher says to do, that's the chronic misbehavior. And that one was sort of interesting to think about because it's unclear if it's if they're seeking attention or feeling inadequate or seeking power. Like, we kind of talked about the different kinds of chronic behaviors and ways to respond to those, but ultimately it's a good idea to just remain calm, and, like, if the student is, like, angry so they're not complying, allow them to kind of cool down, don't necessarily deal with the intervention at the heat of the situation when people are going to be angry and, mean to each other, but then conversing with the parents, kind of getting to the root of the problem, giving the student maybe a leadership position so they feel like they can contribute, and then also brainstorming what can be done with the student and saying, like, hey, like, again, with that why thing I was talking about, like, you are not, this isn't working out the way we're doing it, you're not complying to a lot of things I'm saying, what can I do, what can we do together, what can you do as a student to, so we don't keep having this problem. So kind of talking it through with them and giving, like I said, like, that student choice within my structure, like, hey, I'm deciding that this isn't working, this is obviously within the classroom, but then you're going to help me figure out what we can do to improve, just because I think that's a good way for students to learn how to solve problems, is to talk them through and work through them together. But then ultimately, if the chronic misbehavior, like, if all of that doesn't go well, that's when we go to the principal, that's when we get other forms of discipline besides just within my classroom involved. Okay, and then to the map. So this is kind of tricky. Here's my classroom map. So we kind of have the door here, and then all this desks facing, like, this way, and I guess those couple will be facing that way, but then the main instructions up here. We got a kidney table for working, and then up here we have, like, a reading area, some, like, small group tables, that's my desk, hooks are over here. Anyway, so kind of have a flow, there's, like, room to move within the desks, and kind of move them up here. There's kind of some empty space, or not empty space, like, free space back here. So one of the things of why this works for my teaching style is just because there is a lot of, like, areas for the students to work. They can work in the pairs at their desks, they can work at the reading area, they can work at small group tables, they can work at the kidney table, like, they can kind of be in a couple different places. But then there's also room for the teacher to be either at the desk and observing, or to be, up front and observing, or for the teacher as well to move within the rows, back here, to get to students that need help. So the students within the structure of this, physical setup can work on their own, but then there's also plenty of room for the teacher to, like, literally step in and help. What was my other thing? Oh, and then just having the students in these desk pairs, or kind of back in this line right here. These ones might be separated a little bit too, in pairs. It's really important psychologically for students to have, like, the social aspect of learning and have someone to kind of pair share with. That's especially helpful for ELLs, that kind of thing. So students can work together in that way, which is part of my philosophy of learning as well, that we learn well from helping each other, kind of that classroom culture of, like, we're all going to learn together, help build each other up. So those are my things for the map and the narrative, and then I have the narrative. My narrative is right here. and right here, and then this is my philosophy paper right here, and then I just have a couple of other like notes from class and helpful stuff in the back of there in my extra page. Anyway, that is my whole page. I'll probably like morph these together so it's just one video. Thanks for watching. It's been fun.